Hey everyone. So let's do an updated version of my arena guide. This time I have 4 teams in total because not everybody is going to have the cookie cutter builds that I am using. And sadly, the best team that I found, the most reliable team so far, also uses 2 limited units, which is kind of unfortunate, so to say. But that's why I have different options for you guys. Now, if you're watching this video and our first time viewer of my channel, so welcome to my channel. My name is Liftily, and I usually do Guild War videos. I am also an Emperor World Arena player, as you can tell. And right now, so I'm right now an Emperor, as you can tell, and in Arena, so as you can tell, I'm third on Europe. Now, Europe is a little bit easier than, I believe, Global. Global rankings are very stacked from what I've been told. But for what it's worth, the knowledge you're about to receive and the playstyle that I use, it is based on a solid foundation. So I'm not duping you. These are the teams that I've been using that you're about to see. And if you're curious about my win rate, so let's ignore the previous week because that's where I tested a lot of my comps for this specific video. And there was a lot of testing, trust me, with a lot of failure, as you can tell, because otherwise my wins and losses are very similar. All in all, so 97, 98% win rate. So this week, since I have been testing once again the super solid safe one that you'll see in a minute. And yeah, now if you're wondering what defense I'm using, because the defense is rather high, the defense team that I use is basically this. Now just keep in mind that this very team is a prime example for what I'm about to show you and falls victim to that that I'll be showing off in a few minutes. So, whoops, why does it trump me out of the arena thingy? So, no, that's the wrong one. We do have multiple options to go through. Now, generally speaking, I tend to avoid Lady of the Scales comps. Now, I don't have to necessarily, because Lady of the Scales comps are rather easy to beat. This one in particular, that would be a 5th team, is let's take this Lady of the Scales team is super easy. It's very old, so to say. Where's Conqueror? So the easiest way to beat this team or any lady team that doesn't have RNL in it, or Arena for that matter, just falls victim to this kind of comp, right? So this is the video that I made 4 months ago, I believe, earlier this year. So this is the team you would usually use against this. I don't have half the units here geared, especially not the Conqueror. She's ungeared right now because I don't use it anymore. But if you see this, free win, you can't lose. But I tend to avoid these. So what's more the focus is of this video is beating RNL comps, because RNL comps are super hard to deal with. So let's go right into this one. And I have to keep in mind that I don't call him Aubade or Blade Ludwig. The latest unit that was released is a pretty good example of how to beat these very comps. Now, we know that the RNL does not care about CR and who's the highest on CR. That is unlike Zio. If you face a Zio, you always have to keep in mind Zio does ignore elemental advantage, something that RNL doesn't. Zio will always prio the target with the highest CR on your end. RNL will always prio elemental advantage, no matter the CR, because if she went for CR, she would always attack Ludwig in this case. She doesn't, she S2s the Moondom. Now, Moondom in this case is on a high ER build. She's 257 speed and has some bulk, so she survives the first hit. Surviving the first hit is all that matters in this case. Do I need Soul Constellation because that's another limited artifact? No. If I wanted to make things giga safe, I could go for, and that's a free artifact, I could go for Bastion of Hope. This one provides 60 more ER to my party. And with this, not the party, to herself, and 20% or 99% in this case, but rounded up, it's 20. So she herself gains 60 more, a little bit more. So I'm at 300 ER. That RNL will never debuff me. I haven't Soul Consolation, but for the sake of this video, because I'm already using 2 limited units, let's put her on a Bastion of Cope in this case. And the way this works is Arnell is going to S2. I get the buff from Mundo, and I'm completely shielded from all kinds of damage. Now, because I have Aram on my team, who is this limited unit, this is the build. She's speed tuned perfectly to Ludwig, and you will see why she's speed tuned. She's on Bird's Eye View. Yes, it's an artifact that you should have at this point. It's luckily not limited. It's Brigitte. You can wishlist this artifact, and I would implore you to do so. You only need this only plus 24 because it's 18 souls. And in Aram's case, you don't even need it plus 24, plus 80, plus 21 would be fine enough, because that way you gain 20 souls, which is good enough. But more souls, more better. And in Ludwig's case, a level 31 would be ideal, because that's just more damage for him. And here's the Ludwig, 271 speed on the new set, with on weakening set and pursuit set of a newer place. If you don't have pursuit set, I would suggest that you farm it from Rift. That's the only place where you can get it, or you can craft this in the Astrium crafting stuff. The pursuit set is really good. Evan on effectiveness 136. His own artifact is maxed. I did eventually go for more copies in that case. But yeah, this build is fine. I would rather have more HP, but my weakening set, it just speed and nothing else, and very little bulk, so to say, in terms of HP. So that's the only downside of this build. And this is my Hecate. Important thing is Fawn of the Blue Rose, because that one gives us a soul at the start of the battle, which is very nice for Ludwig. This build is also pretty good. I could go for more attack, but I don't need it. I usually kill every Notos in the entire game, so we'll be fine. All right, so let's dive right in and see how this goes, because this should be a pretty good showpiece. Especially because the Notos is shielded from the boss Arunka in this case. So Luciella goes, as always, attacks into Mondom. She shields us with her super cool buffs. She pushes up. That way we see our gain. We gain speed, we gain vigor, we gain all the cool buffs. Now we sadly are overlapping buffs, because Mondom also gives vigor to the party. But the cool part here is, even if there was a tactical archetype calling in the party for the enemy, we would be safe, because we have 3 buffs. And tactical archetype Callie takes strips 2, meaning the immunity stays, our entire party would be shielded. So let's S3 here for Ludwig's buff. And depending on the debuffs that we land and we don't land, we landed basically everything but silence on the Arunka, which we don't really care about. So let's S3 onto Ludwig. He comes back. And from here we can just S1, and this will basically pop everything and clear the game for us. Boom. Perfect. Now, because Notos is silenced, usually there's 2 options you can do, right? Option 1, you just S1. And in this case, we should get rid of the Notos as well, because we have enough damage. I could have also S3'd. He would take the turn before Notos does. She would take the turn before Notos does, and I would be fine. So this is super safe, and it works splendidly against a lot of comps. It will also work very well against something like this. So let's dive right in. This isn't RML, but it's fine that it isn't. Now in this case, and this is a little bit awkward, so to say, is that our Ludwig is going to get pushed back, most likely. But let me think, because this could No, this should be fine. Let's try this out. I haven't seen this defense at all yet. But yeah, this goes into Ludwig. Pushes him back. Okay, does not push him back. It's discrete hands, by the way, so we are super safe. There is a comp that's more scary, and that is if the enemy is on Alabastorn, because Alabastorn has a good chance to ruin your entire day. Because it deals a debuff, and then the pop damage from Rhianna fully goes through and has potential to kill your comp. In this case, though, we're super safe. Alright, we blocked again everything and sealed everything. Not sealed, silenced, I mean. So, let's push him back. We have a lot of souls. Let's send this into Notos. We don't really care if we miss or not. And everything explodes, but Notos. And now, we can just S3 or S1, both would work. And the game is basically over. So, a very fail-safe comp. Like I mentioned, even if there's a tactical archetype quali, we don't care about this. We are buff stacked against this. So, it also works against something like this, where you are prone to evasion cringe and have to rely on hitting, because we don't need to hit. I'm gonna refresh. I have 5. I don't really want to refresh when it's that easy. So let's make sure that we are actually not duping anybody. So let's try this again. See that it works. Doesn't deal enough damage. No RNL in this world is ever going to deal enough damage on her as to without the additional proc and a death break. So super safe. We're buff stacking again. Aubade does his thing. And I will tell you, it took me about 100 games last week to finalize and make sure that this works. Now in this case, we're kind of unlucky with a double 15%, but luckily we don't really need to care about this. So I push him back up to the top. Send this into Biblis. We also don't really care if we miss. Setsuka, even if she double hits, she's not gonna kill. And everything explodes. Super nice. You love to see it. Alright. Now, for the other teams. Perfect. We got a perfect team. So, the second team. If you don't have Hecate or Aram, you can run something like this. There's 2 core units into this comp, and those are Christy, who is free to play, and then there's Notos. Sure, Notos was the last ML5 before RNL, but with all the power scaling and everybody telling you that Notos is super strong and a must pull, I hope you pulled Notos, because he's gonna make this a cakewalk. Now, you don't need Notos for this specific comp. Something else that would work in this case is Monarch Saria. Monarch Saria would be perfect into this as well. Nobody can dodge here. 2 out of the 4 units are very prone to injury, so Monarch of the Sword Saria would be a very fine problem solver for this. Now, I'm lazy, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put in 2 decoy units, so to say, and win this that way. So whatever happens, even if this was a 300 effectiveness Witch of the Mere Tenebria, I will always have Salome. You don't need Salome, obviously, but she makes things a lot easier. I could literally just take these 2 away and have Notos plus Christy do this, and I would take probably 10 minutes to fight, because I can't reliably kill everybody right away. But rest assured, you cannot lose this. So let's dive right in. The builds don't matter. Oh, still doesn't matter. On my Christy, I have 300 ER. I have a Bastion of Pelusia. Now, my Notos has immunity per se, so the immunity per is kind of wasted. But what's really important here is the barrier, because there are certain comps, especially RNL comps, where you just want the barrier for damage purposes, so Notos just doesn't die. So let's dive right in, see how this goes, because this Notos comp is super flexible. You can use this into a lot of different things. Funnily enough, I outsped this guy. So I suppose we can get rid of Witch of the Mid-Tenebria here. She's the most annoying one after all. So she's gone. I could have also went for scales and denied the enemy abundance, but since I know my team is very tanky, I don't really care. Let's go into Notos' field, and as you can probably tell from here on out, it's gonna be very easy. Alright. Bystander dies here, but whatever. Usually doesn't survive these kind of attacks. Yep, whatevs. Salome though, still alive and kicking. I believe though that Salome is dying here. She's not dying, which is very nice. Let's proc Bellona for once. Wait, I did 36k and she didn't proc? Elbrus. Aha. Let's send this into her, and this goes into Genesis Ras. And there goes Genesis Ras. Now I'm curious, I should watch back my video, because 36k hit on Bellona and she didn't die sounds kind of fishy. But then again, we don't mind. Alright, here's a perfect example of what I was talking about. Because this is one of those cases where things could fall apart very quickly, right? So for this comp, in very particular, there is an easy fix. So again, these two backline units, bread and butter. And what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna evasion cringe this guy. Again, we don't really care about Setsuka and LCB. All we care about is that Notos survives. Because as long as Notos survives, we will be fine. And everything that Setsuka and LCB do is just very nice chip damage that we can make use of. So let's dive right in. Let me quickly think about this for just a moment more. Yeah, should be fine. Yeah. I could also just even further ER this up, but yeah, it should be fine. So we leave a Whispered here, which is very nice. The Collie doesn't seem to have enough effectiveness, which isn't surprising as I have 300 ER. Alright, we hit, we counter again, which feels very unusual, but I like it. Alright, Collie goes. The Bellona goes, and the enemy pretty much exhausted all the buffs and debuffs he has. Oh yeah, the AI went on Collie naturally, which is kind of funny. So let's get rid of RNL here. It's nice chip damage. If I weren't that lucky, I would probably just go into somebody else. Naturally hits my Setsuka. It's only 50% after all. We have some nice injury on the Bellona and everybody else going. Again, LCB not mandatory, absolutely not. You can go with anything else that you would like to go with, and it would be fine. My counter, perfect. We leave the Whisper again. I wish I was this lucky in RTA, let me tell you that. Right, Master of Nightmare. full story, but I have my doubts that this unit is gonna live long. And Notos didn't even take a turn other than as spraying, so pretty good. Again, Notos doing the Lord's work here by just not being dying, or maybe it is just Christy who is the culprit of winning. Okay, so we have 3 games of Aubade Ludwig. We have 2 games of ER Notos, and then there is Notos Arnel. I use this comp, this very specific comp, for when I need more safety. Now, keep in mind, this one is the wrong one. So in this case, we will go with Ruele. And let me quickly re-gear the Fat Cat, because the Fat Cat has different gear for this. So what I usually do for this, and as you can tell, I am always shuffling gear around like a madman. We don't want Xeno because we use Xeno in different teams. So this is the gear for Fat Cat. POV, very important for Notos, so that Notos just can't kill him outright on a hit. Because some Notoses are on either Symbol or Priest of the Broken Will of the Priest, which is the Knight artifact for hit chance. Both I've seen quite a lot in higher EU ladder points, but for the most part, it's just regular. So this is the Ruele I'm running. She isn't that high ER, so there's a good chance that I might get tagged, but she's on reversal set. I'm also on Idol's Cheer, which helps because this pushes up the LCB. That's the LCB build, if you're curious. And this is the Setsuka build. I haven't shown this previously, so good stuff. And yeah, usually the way this goes, Argent goes first, tags the Setsuka as well, and then it depends on what kind of RB this is, but usually it's no issue. So we'll see how this goes. I haven't lost these yet, because for the most part, eventually my units start dodging and then it's fine. In this case, we dodged right away, which is very cool. Now the good part is, Arnold presses again. She's guaranteed to miss on a Bellona, so we get a free Bellona as 2 attack here. Like I mentioned, I'm a prophet when it comes to Setsuka. My Setsuka really doesn't like to dodge. Let's check the CR bar. So we are super safe in terms of CR when it comes to Notos, so I can just afford to S1 and injure him down even further. I'm gonna top off Setsuka here, because she's gonna get hit by RB for the most part. Alright. Notos goes into Fat Cat. Perfect. Now there's always a chance that Notos might go into Bellona if she's lowest HP. This Notos is on 3F, for example, so it's not always clear-cut Holy Sack. And that's the reason why. I mean, for this very specific one, I would bring Maid, but Maid is more squishier, so to say, and more prone to dying. Maid would be optimal here, but since we're not in immediate danger of dying, it's fine. Now, regarding Setsuka, the usual go-to, we are at 40, would be just to S1. But we want to proc within the field. So what I usually do is I just press DS3 for 30 Fighting Spirit, because in a worst case scenario, this will only take 2 more hits. Oops, I should have S1, but whatever. We killed RB here, so we get rid of one of his revives. We also proc the Biblis here, which is very nice. Now RB comes back and he's gonna die immediately, which is what we're going for, and then we'll have an easier time to deal with this comp. And like I mentioned, Setsuka got hit. Please everybody act surprised. Alright, RB did not quite die, but if Setsuka... Okay, she doesn't. Alright, and this is why we fielded... we S3'd within the field, because now Arnold dies, RB dies, and most likely Biblis dies as well. Perfect. And this game is now basically over. We can heal the fat cat back up because we don't need to heal up the SSK, the Setsuka, because she's gonna heal up herself quite well even. Notos leaves the field, attacks the LCB because she is the highest HP now. But again, we don't care. We injured the Notos so much, so Setsuka procs lethal here, which is very cool. With Soulburn and kill the Notos. Incredibly safe and no issue whatsoever. Now, I understand that this comp isn't for everybody because it's incredibly slow. It takes forever to win. Absolutely understandable. And I'm fully with you that it's just not fun. But it's the easiest way. I'm sorry to say. So, you can use this the same way for this very comp, although, no, I would use it for this as well. And these two. So everybody's picking, oopsie. Everybody seems to be going for scales again. Or at least in these lower ranks, everybody's going for scales, which is kind of funny. I don't see the point. So let's go into this, show that scales isn't much of an issue, no matter who's in front. If you're doing this defense, please don't have Notos in the front row. Let's see if this guy has Notos in the front row just to show why that's a bad idea. Okay. Why is Notos bad in the front row? Because once Setsuka procs in the field, Notos is just straight up dead. So, you really don't want that. Alright, we got hit. That's the second time, by the way, Setsuka got hit by an AoE. I hate Setsuka. There's a reason why my Setsuka in RTA is less than 50% win rate. And it's that she really doesn't do her job at all. She's easily one of the worst designed units in the entire game. But for our arena, it's kind of whatever. So Biblis goes, fully debuffs us naturally. It's kind of whatever. We are going to lose Ruele here eventually, unless we miss a bunch, or dodge a bunch, I mean. But even then, I don't think she's gonna survive. Yeah, she got hit. Very unfortunate. But maybe... I'm gonna skip here. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Maybe we can actually make this work then. Alright. Setsuka healing up slowly but surely. Now we can force the enemy to go into Fat Cat. And from here on out, we have won. So yeah, even if you're this unlucky, and I would say this was very unlucky, especially on the Setsuka. It's kind of funny because Setsuka isn't even 50%. Setsuka is 70% chance to dodge, 50% from her own and 20% from the Fat Cat passive. And we got hit twice. Unless you're this unlucky as I am, this will never happen to you. But rest assured, if you're this unlucky, you will get constantly hit, like I do. Now, Ruele is only 50% dodge. I can understand that some hits go through, but yeah, it's kind of whatever. We still cannot lose these games. Alright, and yeah, it's just Notos versus 4. There's no revive. Nothing Notos can do will win. This is on Holy Sack, by the way, so let's trigger the first and only Holy Sack. Notos will always go into Fat Cat. And yeah, pretty self-explanatory. Nice and clean. Let's move on to the next one that I have prepared, hoping that we find something. So this is another case where you just go evasion. Do I have a good showcase? Or do I have to just... Yeah, because then There's no Hecate comp this time, which is kind of unfortunate, because what I also like to do is this. But this doesn't work against something like this. So this is my anti-Hecate cleave. I can refresh for once, see if we have an Hecate comp. This isn't ideal, because the enemy team here is rather tanky. But it could work. Let's try if this works. So what we have here is usually there's no Arunka. But in this case, we know that the Arunka is most likely the highest defense one, which is okay in this case. Usually there's Setsuka and somebody else. And we would use Zeno for that. But since there isn't, we can safely use Saria for this, and it should work fine. So this is the second team. Now again, this uses even 3 limited units, which is unfortunate, but Argent with Hwayoung as well as Aram should be rerunning very soon, because both of those are summer units. And since we are in summer, everybody's expecting both of these to rerun. And Hecate, we probably have to wait half a year until she reruns, because I believe she got released in January or something like that. So it's going to take a while until she releases again, but you should get her because she's really good into all these potential revive comps. Now, Hecate isn't that needed here, but she has the huge upside of just being strong and being able to one-shot things. Another unit that could work here, but that's Moonlight, is Strays. Strays would also be perfectly fine here. But I don't want to mess up my units that I already have. I'm fine with going for 1 unit that I can change, but for more, it's just whatever. So let's dive right in, see how this goes. It should be a clean window. So usually the Hecate goes 24k HP, indicates that this is not a trap Hecate, and even if it is, I highly doubt it's a full damage one. Holy, that was quite a lot of damage. So yeah, we almost killed the Arunka here. Biblis goes, it's fine. We should kill the Arunka, we probably kill the Biblis too. We killed the entire enemy team. Hwayoung will always die in these cases, but that's a non-issue because now Hecate comes in, and this is where you could have Strays, for example. Strays would serve the same purpose. My Hecate does 42k damage, as you can tell from a soul burnt S3, sorry, and just clears. So very nice and clean. However, as you can tell by all the games that I've made or did so far in this 40-minute or 32-minute video, Hecate comps are the rarest type nowadays. So I very rarely use the Aram comp. And keep in mind, this was my fast Aram. I only have one. I wish I had a second one, but I don't. And for something like this, if you want to be very, let's say, ballsy, you could go for something like this. And this is just straight up racing. I tried to make this comp work, and it only works against this. And even then, it is not fail-safe. Let me tell you that. Now, I usually use Shuri, but when I have to race, I try to race RNLs. It doesn't work. So for the sake of this, I would go like something like Corley to follow up on Hecate. Because what you have to keep in mind is you're wasting 2 turns, and on the 3rd turn, you finally do something. Meaning everybody's going to be super high HP because of Biblis's passive, which means that you need a very, very strong Saria in this case. Now, my Saria isn't that good. Also, you need otherworldly machinery, but you can get this for free. You need to spend 900 Sky Stones in the Book of Memories, but at least it's a low effort to get artifact. But it's very good. It ignores damage sharing, so it ignores Lady of the Scales, and it ignores any passive from Estelle as well. But yeah, this isn't the build that you want to use on this comp, to be very specific. Ideally, you go for 200 speed and full damage. So what's usually the case is something like, come on, something like this. Yeah, and as you can tell, I can't even reliably make this work. Yeah, something like this. Ideally, you have 1k more attack. I can't do that, sadly. Ideally, you also want Torrent, which makes things a little bit more awkward. Don't sweat about the crit damage because you're gaining 70% from Amit's artifact. Because Amit's artifact, if you have it maxed, it's 100% chance for increased critical hit damage. And if my memory serves me right, that one was buffed to 70%, so I'd be at 310. So ideally, you want Saria to be at 280, such that you have maxed out crit damage as well. But this is the comp, the fourth comp that I would use. I tried something like this, but it's way too inconsistent, especially with you being super tied down on debuffs and you need to take a bold second turn. So eventually it came down to this. And yeah, so to recap this video, general purpose team against anything RNL Notos. That's why it's Notos RNL. If there's no Notos on the enemy comp and I'm not sure whether I have enough oomph, especially when there is a Bellona on the team and I can't use Aubade. So if this comp doesn't work, I usually go for the ER Notos comp. However, if there is a Notos, I go with this, and that's fine. And if there's a Harcetic team, even if this was to be a knowledge seed Harceti, I still spring the trap because my units deal enough damage such that I don't need to care about anti-crits, more evasion, etc. That's the good part. We don't care about knowledge seed Harceti. That's what I like, these four comps in particular. If I had to choose a favorite of mine, it'd be this one because it's very nice, it's super clean, there is no RNG involved. I like it. And it's super nice to play. And I would highly recommend, if you have the limited units, Hecate and Aram, try this for yourself. It's super good, it's super effective. You don't even need Aubade's artifact maxed. Obviously, it helps with damage, etc. But at the end of the day, the most important part here is speed tuning. Always make sure that your Aram is not within speed RNG range. How do you calculate speed RNG? So we know that my Aubade is 271. This Aram is 258, and you multiply these 258 by 1.05 because speed RNG happens at the beginning of the fight, and you have a chance to increase speed or the CR from 0 or 1 to 5%. And we always take into effect the worst case scenario, which is 5%. And at 5% CR, this would lead Aram to be at 270.9 speed. The game takes decimals seriously, so it doesn't round up. I've tested this a lot. And trust me, Aram has never, and I'm talking about 200 games plus here, has never outsped Aubade because the game takes decimals seriously. So we are super safe with this speed range. And that's pretty much it for the updated video. Luckily, I was low-key hoping when Aubade Ludwig was showcased and what he does, that he was actually a good RNL count, and I'm very happy that he is. Not just RNL, but also RB plus Setsuka. So I'm very happy. He's a super good unit, and I hope you have great success with this comp as well. And this closes out the video. Let's go back to the to this. So yeah, thank you all for watching. It was very nice to do this kind of video again. If you have any questions regarding builds or need any tips, feel free to shoot a comment or DM me on Discord, and I'll gladly help you out. See you guys in the next one.